So what is scaling? Scaling, as we discussed, scaling is nothing but reduction of the size of the object or increment in the size of the object. In your computer graphics, basically 2D scaling consists of two scaling factors. One is nothing but Sx as well as Sy. These are the two scaling factors we use in 2D scaling with respect to x as well as y coordinates. What does x as well as y represent here is, it is nothing but the coordinates which you are specifying with respect to the scaling coordinates. So we saw how to represent the scaling coordinates or scaling 2D scaling in the form of matrix. That is nothing but this. Then we got an equation for scaling, that is nothing but the output position, or I can say the next position which I want to calculate is equated to the product of scaling which you get into the initial position. That is nothing but the first position you give to that particular object. Then in 2D scaling, we had a metric representation of 2 cross 2. That is nothing but this I can tell as 2 cross 2 matrix, which I have been defined here. Then we saw some conditions in scaling. That is nothing but if the value of the scaling factors, which is nothing but Sx as well as Sy, if it is lesser than 1, we should reduce the size of the object. If the values are greater than 1, will produce some enlargement. That is nothing but you'll keep on increasing the size of the object. Then if both the values of Sx as well as S1, Sx as well as Sy, if it is equated to 1, then the size of the object remains unchanged there. So these are the three conditions we studied in scaling. Then we saw an example of where you are turning a square into a rectangle with scaling factors Sx is equals to 2 and Sy is equals to 1. So in this condition we got Sx value is greater than 1, so you have to produce the square as rectangle. You are doing enlargement there because the scaling factor value is greater than 1 there. So the output will be in this form, that is nothing but if the scaling factor is greater than 0, will enlarge that particular object. Suppose this is a square, after enlargement this square becomes an rectangle. Then we saw another example where a line scale with equations so and so Sx as well as Sy is lesser than 1. What we need to do? You need to reduce the size of the object. Suppose x is the object where you have a bigger object. I have drawn a line which is bigger in its size. Once the scaling is applied where the condition is lesser than 1, that is scaling 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 factors Sx as well as Xy is lesser than 1, then we reduce the size of the object. I can represent that object as Sx dash. So the positive scaling value is lesser than 1, reduce the size of the object. That is the reduction of object. There is no enlargement in the object because the condition is met for lesser than 1. Then we saw something called as scaling relative to a fixed point. That is nothing but you are you are performing scaling with respect to some specified point. That is nothing but xf as well as yf, where a fixed point is being given. With respect to it, you perform scaling operations there. As in the example, I have taken a point with respect to two factors, that is xf as well as yf. I have drawn an object with respect to 3 points here. Here, with respect to this point, I can perform the scaling operations on this particular object with two kind of coordinates x as well as y, where this point remains constant here. Then we saw something to define how to define the scaling functions with respect to the fixed point, where we have some difference in the objects with respect to coordinates x as well as xf. Then the output coordinates with respect to x and y are represented in this formula. I can tell these formulas are the separation of multiplicative as well as additive terms with respect to scaling operations. These equations, once we rewrite these equations, these are for coordinate positions x and y. That is nothing but these are the coordinate positions we use, which is x as well as y, so that it can be scaled to the another terms, which is nothing but x dash as well as y dash, so that we can calculate the relationship between scaling factors as well as xy coordinates for scaling with respect to fixed point. Then we saw an example of 2D scaling, that is the code. Then we saw metric representation as well as some coordinate values, that is homogeneous coordinates with respect to your 2D objects. In this, what did we study? We studied something called as three basic two-dimensional transformations, that is representation of matrix form of all the three transformations, that is nothing but translation, scaling as well as rotation. In how basically we perform these matrix representation, we had some general format there, that is nothing but p dash is equals to, we perform two matrices m1 as well as m2. P dash is equals to m1 into p plus m2, the initial parameters position with respect to matrix 1 plus the additive term m2. This, as I told, the multiplicative and translational terms of a 2D transformation can be combined into a single matrix there, where there is an expansion of representation with respect to 3 cross 3 matrices. This basically happens for all the transformations, translation, rotation, as well as scaling operations. What is the resultant of this metric representation? Here, the resultant was an transformation equation which can be expressed in the form of matrix multiplication. So, what is homogeneous coordinates? As similar to that of matrix representation, coordinate the homogeneous coordinates are also some kind of points as well as vectors, with the help of which we can represent the coordinates of the object homogeneously, which are similar kind of that particular object. There we had some parameters called as h with respect to both the coordinates x as well as y, where I can represent h as a non-zero homogeneous parameter. So we can define the coordinates x as well as y with respect to this formula, where the initial value of h, that is nothing but homogeneous parameter, it was 1, where it was a convenient choice, so that we can represent the coordinate x, y, and h as 1 there. So other, if the value of this homogeneous coordinates changes other than 1, so that kind of homogeneous parameter is being used in 3D weaving functions, which is being covered in the next modules. Then we saw how to represent the matrix form of translation. This was the metrics which we define for translation. Similarly, for rotation as well as scaling. In rotation, you need to remember what is the important aspect you should consider there. It is nothing but the angle, which is called as theta there. With respect to some angle, you need to perform some rotation, right? For one object angle to another object. So here the theta value is very important in rotation. Then we saw how to perform matrix representation of scaling as well. Then we saw some transformation with respect to all the three object transformations, that is geometric transformations, that is translation, rotation, and scaling. As in the previous form, you had some representations, right, with respect to rotation, translation, as well as scaling. You are just taking the inverse of that particular equations with respect to matrix form. This is, once you convert the inverse of the translation matrix formation, you will get inverse translation. With respect to rotation, you will get inverse rotation as well as inverse scaling. So that is nothing but inverse transformation. Then we saw something called as composite transformation. Why we formed composite transformation was so that we will calculate the product of individual transformation. That is nothing but translation, scaling, as well as rotation form. You are just taking the transformations of different geometric conditions there. Then we saw the important topic, that is nothing but 2D pivot point rotation, where you need to remember some procedure. That is three kind of procedures in it. Why we use 2D pivot point rotation was that so that we can generate a 2D dimensional rotation about any other point, performing some translation as well as rotation operations. I can call 2D pivot point rotation as translate, rotate, as well as translate. As you can see in the procedure, what is the procedure? First, you'll have the original position of the object, then you'll perform translation. Once the translation is performed, you'll perform rotation, then again you'll repeat the translation of the object with respect to the initial point there. So I can call the pivot point rotation as translation, rotation, as well as translation, or translate, rotate, or translate. In the question papers, it might be asked in this form also. Can you explain the technique of translate, rotate, translate operations? So you need not get confused. That is nothing but you are. They have asked 2D pivot point rotation. So how this worked? First step was to translate the original position of an object. That is, translate the object so that the pivot point position is moved to the coordinate origin. Suppose, as I want to move this object with respect to a point to the origin, you need to perform translation there, where this object with respect to point x and y, with respect to two coordinates, it is being shifted to the origin with the help of translation operation there. Then I need to apply rotation to it. That is nothing but this object is just reversed there with the help of rotation, but in default it will be using some angle with respect to origin value. Then whatever the value I have got, whatever the object representation I have got after performing the rotation about the origin, then again I need to perform the translation. Because why you are using translation after rotation is you want to move the object which you have got after rotation to the original position of the object. Now the resultant as well as the initial object, you can see the initial pivot point is same, just the object is been reversed there with the help of translation as well as rotation. So that is the general two-dimensional pivot point rotation. As I have told you, your second program of your laboratory is on this only, that is pivot point rotation itself. Then we saw how to represent this pivot point rotation in the form of matrices. That is nothing but you are using both the transformations, that is nothing but translation as well as rotations. Once you combine these two transformations, geometric transformations, you'll take the product of both the matrices, and then you will get the resultant matrix, so that you can represent that resultant matrix in the form of an equation for all the three geometric transformations. Then we saw something called as 2D fixed point scaling, which is similar to your pivot point scaling, where in 2D dimensional fixed point scaling, we also produce a two-dimensional scaling with respect to some selected point, where we had a function that scale relative to the coordinate origin only. So what is the procedure here? First, you used to translate the object so that the fixed point xf as well as yf is at its origin. That is nothing but this. I can call this as origin, right? So I'm just translating this object from its position to the this position. That is nothing but origin position. After translating the object to the origin position, I will just scale the object. As I have defined the definition of scaling, what is scaling? It is I can define scaling as reduction of the size of the object or increment in the size of the object. That is nothing but differentiation in the size of the object, where the size keeps on varying there. I'll perform scaling after the object is being translated to the origin, where I'll get the reduction of the object. After I get the scaling object, I'll just put on this object to the its original position. That is nothing but the initial position xf comma yf. So I got the translated object. Here just in the previous part, that is pivot point scaling. You're just taking the object and translating as well as rotating here. But here you are translating, then performing scaling operations. The basic difference between the pivot point scaling as well as fixed point scaling is you in pivot point you are using translate object and then rotate the object, but in scaling you are doing translation object as well as scaling the object, then again translate that particular object to the fixed point. Then we saw how to perform the fixed point scaling in the form of matrix form, how to represent it in the matrix form. So this is how you represent it in the matrix form. This all you get from the initial geometry transformation we studied, the three transformation, right? With the help of that, once you take the cross product of all the transformations, you will be getting the equation that is nothing but for scaling transformation. So we studied till here, that is nothing but fixed point scaling. Now let's see some of the properties of matrix concatenation. What do you mean by concatenation? Someone from the class, what is concatenation? It is, I can define concatenation as combination, or I can say combining some properties. Yes, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, concatenation is nothing but combining two different equations, I can say, in the form of, if I take it in the form of equation, I can tell concatenation is I will combine two equations. Then let's move on to the matrix concatenation properties. This might be a 3-marker or 4-marker question. We have some properties. We have actually two properties. I can say this can be asked for 4 markers. What is the property 1? Let's see what property 1 defines. The first property of the property 1 is multiplication is associative with respect to matrix concatenation. What do you mean by association? That is nothing but the matrix associative matrix, in the sense, for example, if I take three matrices called M1, M2 and M3, the product of the three matrices, that is M3, M2 and N1, can be performed by first multiplying M3 as well as M2 and M2 or M1, that is nothing but product of the two matrices M1, M2 or M2, M3, so that you will get different matrices there. That is nothing but multiplication of different multiplication is being performed here. I will repeat it again. For any three matrices M1, M2 and M3, the matrix product M3, M2 and M1 can be performed by first multiplying M3 and M2, or by first multiplying M2 or M1, which I can represent this in this form. Okay, I guess you people know the associative property of multiplication. You are just applying that associative property here. That is the first property with respect to your matrix concatenation properties. This is the subheading, I can tell. For your, as I told, there are main two properties, property 1 as well as property 2. In the first subheading of property 1 is multiplication is associative. Then the next property with respect to the initial properties, I can tell multiplication is not communicative. Commutative, sorry. Multiplication is not commutative. So what does this mean here? In the second property, multiplication is not commutative. We have some sequence of transformation which are all of same kind. That is nothing but if I take the value m1 and m2, it is not equal to m1 and m2 generally there. So that these are the two main properties which you need to remember if there is a question asked for matrix concatenation property. In the first property, multiplication is associative. We can construct a matrix called as composite matrix either by multiplying from left to right or multiplying from right to left. It basically depends on the user, how the user is performing the multiplication there. So these are the two important properties you need to remember in the matrix concatenation properties. Then we have something called as computational efficiencies with respect to your transformation. So what is this computational efficiency with respect to the transformations? So let's see how this happens. First, in computational efficiency, what do you mean by efficiency? What is efficiency? If I ask it generally, what do you mean by efficient? If I tell if some particular model is efficient, what does it mean? Hmm? Anyone from the class, what do you mean by efficiency? Yeah, I can tell computational efficiency as something. If I take some object, I need to perform some angle and rotation there. If I want to perform rotation operation there, I can tell that the rotation technique is efficient only when you are successfully converting that particular object into some angle, right? Once the object is being converted to some angle, you will tell that particular technique is efficient. So how to perform this computational efficiency with respect to computer graphics is, first you'll formulate a concatenated matrix with which might be more efficient. Once if you take, if as in all the transformations we saw the matrix representation, right? So whatever the matrix representation you got, you'll first formulate it in the form of concatenated matrix, which is efficient with respect to the initial matrix formation. What do we require for formation of this concatenated matrix? We require some multiplication as well as some additional operations, so that we'll perform some concatenation of that matrix. How concatenation happens? By just adding as well as multiplying some operation to the equation. That is the first efficient point you need to remember. Then the second point is rotation calculations require trigonometric evaluation. So what are these trigonometric evaluations? For examples, in animations with small angle rotations, suppose I can say power series, which is actually an iterative calculation which can reduce complexity. That is nothing but, if you take a graphics, I can tell animation is an application of graphics, right? So in that we'll have some, we'll feed the code with respect to some rotation angle. So if this rotation angle is very small, where it consists of some approximations, you give some approximation value as the rotation angle. With respect to that, it can be calculated so that it will reduce the complexity of that particular animation. That is nothing but rotation calculations require some evaluations there. You will be performing some evaluations or changes with respect to complexity there. So these are the computational efficiency points you need to remember. Then, as we saw, there are three different geometric transformations, right? That is translation, scaling, as well as rotation. These were the initial three transformations. With addition to these transformations, we have another two transformations, which are nothing but reflection as well as shear. I can call it as SHEAR. That is nothing but called shear. You need to remember this. I guess you people know the definition of reflection. What is reflection? I want the answer for this. What is reflection? You can take a simple example and tell what is reflection. Is Muhammad there? Muhammad Asad. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Is Muhammad Asad there? No. Rahul, are you there? No. Shashank, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Shashank, tell me what is reflection? Hmm? No idea. Okay. Rajesh, can you tell me what is reflection? Rajesh. No. Ishanya, if you are there, can you tell me what is reflection?
Sir, reflection is image like proper.
Yeah. Huh. I will take a simple example. Day-to-day life. In the morning, what do you do first after getting up?
Looking at mirror.
Yeah. That is one of the example of reflection. I can tell it. You will form an inverse image in the mirror there. I can that the best example for reflection is mirror. You will find an opposite reaction of your face in the mirror, right? But the dimensions of whatever you look into the images will be the same. Just the same object is being reflected in the different position there. That is nothing but reflection. I can tell reflection is a transformation which produces a mirror image of an object, which is called as reflection. Where, to be repeated, a reflection is a transformation which produces a mirror image of an object. So I can define it as an reflection. So how this reflection takes place in two-dimensional objects? In two-dimension reflection, it is nothing but an image which is generated related to an axis of reflection. In reflection, you need to remember you have something called as axis with respect to each object. This reflection transformation is being performed with respect to some axis. I can take that axis as x-axis or y-axis. Basically, if I take an example, if I want to rotate an object with respect to 180-degree, I need something called as axis with respect to the coordinates. If I define to perform reflection of 180-degree, I need a coordinate axis called as x-axis or a y-axis. Y-axis. I can tell perform reflection on an object with 180-degree with respect to x-axis. So I can define reflection in this form with respect to your 2D transformations. Then reflection for some particular line, if I tell y with respect to the x-axis, I can perform the transformation with respect to this matrix form, where you have the values of 1, -1, and 1 in the diagonal form, where the value of x remains constant there, but flips the value of y there. If I represent this object is an original position, if I want to perform this reflection on this object, I will perform with respect to the another axis, where y will be its coordinates with respect to only x coordinates. I will get the reflection position of that particular object. So this is how reflection takes place. We'll see some more examples with respect to reflections. The previous part was reflection with respect to x-axis, where the matrix represented there was -1, 1 and 1, -1 and 1 with respect to the diagonal axis, where reflection of an object about and y-axis. So let's see how this happened. Here I have defined two coordinates, x as well as y. The reflection of the original position I need to consider here in the next axis. So this is the original position of the object. If I perform reflection of this original position, this is how you get. Basically, the point 1 comes here, the point 2 comes here. Just the reflection, the similar object is been reflected with respect to different position. That is nothing but x as well as y axis is there. I can tell reflection is nothing but flipping. I can call it as flipping. The another name for reflection is flipping. We flip both x as well as y coordinates of a point by reflecting to an axis. I can tell x as an axis as well as y as an axis, where an axis is perpendicular to both x as well as y plane. What do you mean by this? This is nothing but perpendicular property, right? Here, basically, the xy plane, whatever the positions you are defining onto the plane, both the planes will be perpendicular to that x or y axis is there, where in different examples, I can define different position of reflection there. In the first part with respect to x-axis, in the second part, I performed reflection with respect to y-axis. Then if I take the position of the origin here, with respect to origin, you need to reflect the object. If I take this as an original object, with respect to origin, this is the reflected position of that particular object. So how can this be defined with respect to matrix representation? I can define this in the form of -1 in the diagonal form, in the second coordinate -1, because you are using in different coordinates the position of the reflected object in the different coordinates. I'll be getting both as negative sign there. So these are some of the examples of the